I want to start off with a story. It was the year 1896. Now, some of you are familiar with this story, so bear with me. Vilfredo Pareto, or if you want to say it in Italian, Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian, was busy harvesting peas in his garden when he made an interesting observation. He noticed that some pea pods had a lot more peas than the others. Now, on counting the number of peas in each pea pod, he found that 80% of the peas came from only 20% of the pea pods. Now, bear with me here so I can explain it to you. If there are 10 pea pods with 50 peas in total, we would normally expect the pea pods would have 5 peas each in them, right? So that they're kind of evenly distributed. That's the normal thing to expect. But what Vilfredo found was that 20% of the pea pods, 2 out of the 10 pea pods, had 80% of the peas. So 40 of the peas belong to 2 of the pea pods. Now bear with me because there's a story to this. Vilfredo, and of course he was, but Vilfredo was an economist. This is why he broke it down like this. And after a lot of research, he realized that the same pattern was happening in Italy. And this is how wealth was being distributed. So he found that 20% of the people in Italy owned 80% of the land. And he found that 80% of the population owned only 20% of the land. Now, this pattern still holds somewhat true today. Now, in most of the economies, a small group of people own most of the wealth. Now, let's apply this to your business, real estate, and to your lives. Not everything on your to-do list is created equal. And I'm going to borrow a part of this from the book, The One Thing. If you want to pick it up, it's by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. He has a section in there where he writes it out and makes it very visual. And he says, look, this is what your to-do list should look like. But it doesn't. Your to-do list should look like this on one side. It should say should do and could do. There's a difference. And obviously you should choose the ones that said should do. The problem is we're focused on everything like it equally matters. And this is where we go and apply the Pareto Principle and we say, or the 80-20 principle, whatever you want to call it, and say, well, why would I do that if everything isn't equal in my business, in my life? But yet you find that most of us spend the same amount of time looking through our email, going through social media, doing things that really don't impact our bottom line. So let's dive deeper. All of our businesses are different, and we all get business from different places. So be like Pareto here. I want you to look to see where your business is coming from. This is what he looked at. He looked at the pea pods and he said, okay, I figured this out. 20% of my pea pods are producing 80% of my peas. So I want you to take a look and say, well, where is most of my business coming from over the last 12 months? Is it online leads? And if they are, what type of online leads? Google, Facebook, Realtor.com, Zillow, what? Where? Organic? Is it sphere? If it is sphere, well, let's break down the sphere even more. What part of my sphere? If it's past clients, who are the past clients? And am I categorizing them so that I can get more from those past clients? Are they from reviews? Now, when you find out what's producing the most, that's when you can focus more on your business. Find out how to get more out of the sector that's already bringing in most of the revenue. Now, the 80-20 principle, I think it's also a book. I've never read it. The very first time I heard about the 80-20 principle was from Gary Keller. he talked about Pareto, the Pareto Principle. But the 80-20 principle is pretty popular. Now, right now isn't the time to be working on things that might work. It's time to triple down on what's working for you. So here's the thing. At the rate the world is moving right now, the 80-20 rule is now becoming more like the 90-10 or the 95-5, and in some cases, the 96, 97, 98-2 principle. The point is that there's a great opportunity right now, but you have to be super focused. And that focus has to be on the priorities that are producing the most for your life. And only you know what those are. So here's how you do it. You find what's working for you or what your priorities are, and you break them down into smaller, actionable steps. And you add them to your schedule, to an hour block, a 2-hour block, however much time you've allotted in each day for your priorities. But I think we work off of a to-do list and we're like, oh, we need to do this, check. We need to do this, check. It just feels good to check things off. But are they your priorities? And the more you break it down into smaller steps, the more achievable it'll become for you. Now, we often think that we have to start big, but it's the opposite. Things have to be broken down into smaller segments so that they can be accomplished. And I'll leave you with this story. May 6, 1954, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute barrier, running the distance in 3 minutes and 59.4 to be exact. Now, as part of his training, he visualized the achievement in order to create this sense of certainty in his mind and his body. But more importantly, and this isn't talked about as often, he broke down the mile into segments, and he practiced those segments going at full-on speed. And then he pieced them together as his body got used to it. So he realized that he needed to prioritize and say, okay, let my body get used to these small sprints so that I can achieve this ultimate goal. Now, there are other things that he did. That's for a whole different other story or other segment that we do. But he did surround himself with pacemakers, but not for your heart, but for people that were in front of him setting the pace. And that is just a reminder that those people that we surround ourselves with can sometimes lift us up or push us when we need that push. So today and this week, as we're talking about your business, I need you to refocus on what those priorities are for your life, for your business. What are they? We spoke shortly on it today, but there's so much more you can dive into as priorities. What do those priorities look like if you want to be the best parent, if you want to be the best spouse, if you want to be another level of real estate agent that you are now? What are those priorities? Only you know. Thanks for joining me on this one, and please click the little bell so that you get a reminder every time I put out a brand new YouTube video. Thanks again for your support.